So let's go to Bill 12.
Bill 12 amends ordinance number 18-68 as amended the operating budget for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2019, appropriates revenues in the contribution from private source account $170,355 and appropriates the same to the 2018 lava disaster relief private account. Funds be used to help offset costs incurred relating to the 2018 lava disaster in the Lower Puna region, introduced by Ms. David by request.
Originally, the discussion was around simply submitting a communication, a list of things that would be nice to have for the community. But I'm hearing from the community that they don't want any more lip service. They want to see some action taken. And so by amending the bill and attaching this exhibit, we've identified projects that we believe would make an immediate impact on the Puna community. So I want to thank you, Director Sacco, for working with the administration to allow us to do this. I mean, we were going to do it anyway, but we want to be working in a collaborative way and show the community that the council and administration can work together, that we're listening to the community, and we seriously want to make sure that we're spending this money down and we're being accountable. And this also shows the legislature that we can identify meaningful projects that uplift the community. So I'm going to take the council members through this list. It's quite short, but we all know that $170,000 is a drop in the bucket when you think about people wanting to get back home. However, having said that, I do want to allocate $50,000 to emergency roads recovery, whatever that may be, whatever that may look like. So working with the Department of Public Works to make that happen. And I know that funding is being lined up right now. We're just looking at the legality of it. It's very possible that we can tap into the money that's been given to the county by the governor. So lots of headway being made on that front. With regards to money for Department of Research and Development, $50,725. Majority of this, I'm envisioning $45,000 be used to support our farmers. We don't talk about them enough. Many of them have lost everything, yet despite all of that, they're willing to step up to the plate and do it all over again. Imagine that. You lose all of your crops, everything that you've worked decades for, and you're like, you know what, shoots, I'll go again. That is amazing, and we need to support them. I reached out to the Kohala Center to see if there was a way that they could work with the county to administer a series of micro grants to farmers that are looking to restart. Things like fencing their property so that pigs don't come and ravage their crops. Sometimes they might need some equipment. These are just, this is a small amount of money, but I think it could go a long way in helping a farmer get back on track. As we know, the Hawaii Board of Geographic Names is putting together a permitted interaction group that includes 3 board members and several residents of Hawaii Island. We want to support this effort. And so any type of public outreach that the PIG is going to be doing, we can use some of that funds to assist in that. We've also identified a need for temporary interpretive signage and banners. What does that mean? Well, when people are cruising down that new road to Pohiki, we want to make sure they know what they're looking at and to approach the place with right intention and be cognizant of the fact that they are still in a community and so should have respect. Money allocated for parks and recreation, $51,467. A lot of this money will be spent at Poho'iki and on our Puna keiki, who have suffered so much. Last year they lost their summer, they lost their pool, they lost their park, and they lost their surf spot. I'm hoping that these funds can be used to create some good memories this year, and I think we can. So for Poho'iki, we know that we need to increase the amount of days in which the porta potties are cleaned out, given the heavy traffic to the area. So allocating money for that. We need water. We need standby emergency water while Parks and Rec and water supply work with a private landowner that has a well that we could potentially tap into and bring non-potable water to existing infrastructure like bathrooms and showers. But until we get to that point, we still want Poho'iki to be safe and to allow people to rinse off. So we have emergency standby water allocated here. And knowing that the Uncle Boogie surf match is coming up in a couple months, we certainly want to have this in place before then. Outdoor signage throughout Poho'iki to highlight what has happened there. A lot of times people come through that place and they have no idea what they're looking at. They don't know what existed before these lava walls. If we can have signage that would allow for a guided tour around Poho'iki, I think that will create for a more meaningful experience for visitors, but it also serves as a reminder of what we once had. Money for the Pahoa Aquatic Center, and this is something that Mrs. Leroy brought up, the need for lane lines in the pool. Chair, if I may, indulge me in a few more minutes. Sure. Thank you. Recreational activities for our keiki, vouchers for summer fun programs so that moms and dads, aunties and uncles, grandma, grandpas can go to work and ensure that their children have a safe place to be during the summer. Also entertaining day-long cultural enrichment programs and vouchers throughout the year. We don't want this to be a one-time thing. We want to make sure that we are giving our kids meaningful experiences throughout the year. And one thing that Ms. Leroy was really excited about, Easter egg hunts. We can do this for our kids in Pahoa and Volcano. There is an Easter egg hunt that happens in Hilo at the tennis stadium. More than 10,000 eggs are hidden, and we have so many different communities accessing that resource. Let's bring the fun to the kids in their communities. And finally, we want to make sure that we are taking care of our seniors. So for the various senior centers throughout Puna, increasing transportation services, making sure they have the recreational equipment they need, activities, tables, and chairs. Mr. Richards pointed out to me, this doesn't add up to $170,000. I'm very well aware, even though I'm not a math major. We have a little bit of money in place because I've reached out to Leilani Estates and I have some feelers out in that community to see what are some ways we can lift up the community of Leilani Estates. And so there will likely be an amendment to this exhibit, but I did want to offer up to the council the work that Ms. Leroy and I have put in to this and get your thoughts. And, you know, Ms. David, I'm certainly open to hearing if there are things that we can do to help the Volcano community with some of this, because they certainly were impacted by the eruption. So thank you all for your consideration.
It's been moved by Ms. David, second by Ms. Leroy to approve Bill 12, Draft 2.
Chair, I'd like to defer to Ms. Kirkowitz on her amendment.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kirkowitz.
Thank you, Chair. After my colleague, Ms. Leroy, and I had amended this bill at our last meeting, I was able to reach out into the Leilani Estates community and get a sense from them how these funds could be used to support their community in particular. There was a suggestion made by Officer Cardenas with regards to increasing safety efforts in Leilani. And so there is an ongoing conversation about what that would look like, but we wanted to include support for that effort and assign a dollar figure to that. So if you can see here, point number 3, that's $15,000. Okay, I'm sorry, backtracking here. Amending Bill 12 with the contents of Communication 52.4.
Okay, that's a motion by Ms. Kirkowitz and second by Ms. Leroy. Okay, continue.
Thank you. Continuing. And also, Ms. David mentioned at our last council meeting the need to support Volcano's Cooper Center, and so there were additional funds that were allotted for recovery activities. So I just wanted to note that to this body, and I'm also going to request a suspension of the rules because we are amending this on second reading, and I'd like to just ask my colleagues for their support on that so we can vote on this bill and start working with the departments to put this money to work for our community.
Okay.
I yield the floor.
Thank you. On the amendment, is there any further discussion? Ms. David?
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Ms. Kirkowitz, for doing that, for this amendment for Cooper Center. Mahalo.
Ms. Leloy?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Kirkowitz. And I really am pleased how this evolved, especially with more input from our families up in Volcano. And my understanding is during this event, they experienced somewhere between 100 and 125 earthquakes a day up in Volcano. And so I'm so happy that we're actually really providing them some relief too. So congratulations and thank you for putting this all together. I yield.
Thank you.
I just want to make one more
Ms.
statement.
Kirkowitz?
It was both of us, Miss Leloy, working in partnership. And I think this is a really good model for all of us to just consider going forward. I mean, I think this council and the community really appreciates the level of detail and the transparency of how these funds are going to be expended. So just keeping this in mind in the future when more pots of money are presented to us, working in collaboration with community to identify how the monies could be spent to empower and uplift, and doing it in this way. So thank you. I yield.